Hello, everybody, and welcome to this session with the one and only Shobhaa. And we'll start by unwrapping the new book, which you've already done, so you're well ahead of the curve here. I'm still struggling with it. There we go.
Thank you.
Welcome to Kolkata.
Thank you, thank you. It's like coming home to my husband's roots. I feel like the Baudi of Kolkata, if I may say so, and love it. And each trip is a revelation. And I'm so happy, Moina, Anjum, all of you, for inviting me to the 14th edition. I don't think I've skipped a single one of them, so it's always such a treat to be back with an informed audience and enthusiastic readers. So thank you. I'm happy to be in conversation with you.
Delighted. In this book, Insatiable, you write in the introduction, in fact, that this is a book to mark a landmark birthday. And you write, a book was expected, it had to be written. I 100% wanted to mark my 75th with a book. And it made me wonder, you've been at this for so long, you have written so many books, column. What does writing still mean to you?
It means everything. It means my breath, my skin, my raison d'etre, just for being alive. There is not a moment when I am not writing. Even when I am not writing, I'm still writing, if you know what I mean. I'm writing in my sleep. I'm writing when I'm talking to you. I'm writing when I'm interacting with people. It is non-stop, professionally, non-stop 50 years, which is a long time, of writing uninterrupted. So that's a lot of writing. And I've loved every moment of it, and I cannot even imagine myself. I cannot think of my world, myself, my life, devoid of this immense pleasure that writing gives me. And, to write this book, it was a spontaneous decision, like most decisions. Most important decisions in my life have been, why not? Let's go for it. So risk is something I love. I like that four-letter word a lot. And it just felt right to be doing this, because I wrote a book about aspects of my life when I turned 50, then another one at 60, then the other one at 70. 75 is a good time to write it, because who knows, 80 is... who knows? I mean, I won't be around maybe at 76. And it's...
Well, Jeffrey Archer was on yesterday, 82.
I never want to be Jeffrey Archer, ever. Having said that, good for him, God bless him. But this is the book I wanted to write now. It was a decision taken exactly like that. Why not? And it's a different structure to the memoir. It's really... a year, that's 365 days, 12 months, 75 years compressed into 300 pages. And it was great fun, because almost cathartic. It was written in a stream of consciousness kind of a style. It's very conversational. And I was very sure that I didn't want to write anything that was pretentious, pedantic.
Why are you pointing at me?
Not pointing at you. It's just that it was stated that I will not do it. Pompous and pretentious and pedantic. That it isn't. So if you enjoyed the book, I hope you did. I know my husband is falling off his chair. He's just started reading it last night. And if he's enjoying it, I guess I haven't done anything too bad.
Oh, he hasn't read it yet?
No, no one reads the book till it's physically in the home as an advanced copy. No one. They don't even know what I'm writing about. I prefer it that way.
Do you, in a book like this, where your friends and family are actually a big part of it, do you feel nervous about the fact when it's out there, given that they haven't read it in advance?
I'm terrified of my family in any case. My censor board, my children and my husband, the biggest critics of all time. Already there's a daughter who's saying, well, you've given more space to that one, you've given less to me. There are more lines, so they're counting each word and each line. And when I go back to Bombay, I know I'm going to get hell. I'll know who's sulking, who's a little not so comfortable about the representation. But I tell them, listen, go write your own books, when you're ready to write them. But this is how I see my life and your roles in my life. And it's a part of being in the family of a person who's a writer. There are the upsides, there are the downsides. But I also hope there's a lot of delight and a lot of insights which will make you feel good about yourselves.
This week, this reminded me, this week where there were the Golden Globes were happening, and Steven Spielberg, when he was getting his Golden Globe, he said, everybody sees me as a success story, but nobody really knows who we are until we are courageous enough to tell everyone who we are. Does writing a book like this, which involves food, family, and friendship, take a special kind of courage?
I didn't see myself as doing a Joan of Arc or something like that. I really don't have such sort of heroic notions about either writing or perspectives. We all choose our subjects. We all choose how much we wish to share. And I hope I've done so sensibly and with sensitivity towards the other people in my life. It's not a book, it's not a tell-all. It was never meant to be that. It's just a book that shares one's joy of friendship and family and food which connects it all. So it's not a recipe book. It's not a cookbook. But coming from a family of food fanatics, and all our friends are very strong on food as well. And food is something that we tend to take for granted. We don't give it the kind of importance which I think it warrants and deserves. Food is something which is such a basic pleasure, which we often
Has that always been a pleasure for you, or was it something you discovered over time? Because you have this wonderful thing in there where you talk about the importance at one point hard-boiled egg was for you.
Yeah. I think for women see food very differently. For women, food, no matter which segment of society they come from, food is about security and survival. There's always the fear that suddenly all of this will be taken away from me, and I'll be faced with starvation, I'll be faced with deprivation, and all that I've enjoyed right now, which I've taken so much for granted, all these wonderful meals on my table may one day disappear, just vanish. I cannot begin to tell you how many women I've talked to in extremely secure circumstances, financially and emotionally. But when it comes to basics, I think I've mentioned a friend who asked me, ki, "Khana kidhar se khayenge?" When she was going through a rough time in her life, as I was, surviving on that one boiled egg a day. We've all had our good times, our hard times, our rough times. We've all made hard and difficult choices, but at the end of it all, that boiled egg has become such a metaphor for me and such a strong symbol of what a human being is capable of. I mean, I never ever imagined as a young person, or even in my mid-30s when the boiled egg happened, surviving on that one boiled egg, I would ever confront such a situation in my life where that one boiled egg would assume so much importance. It would keep me going literally for the whole day. So I can never, ever, ever dismiss someone's hunger or someone's hunger for whatever it may be, not just food.
This is slightly unfair question, but I'll ask it anyway. Do you think your daughters have the same kind of relationship anxiety around food that you just talked about when it comes to yourself?
Well, they have had a much more privileged life. They haven't really had to struggle. I have, and I've enjoyed that struggle. They have not been tested, so I don't know in future what and how they may respond to circumstances which are radically different from the ones that they're enjoying right now. But I would think that they have seen that both their parents are self-made, that we both continue to work extremely hard. My husband's going to be 83 at the end of this month. He works very hard every single day of his life. He's on top of his life. They see me working every single day of my life. So I hope that we've set the right examples to them, at least, that no matter what, if your brain's working, you have 2 hands that function, 2 feet that can take you where you want to go. These boots really are meant for walking. So don't stop.
These great boots, by the way.
Yeah, thanks.
And you said that actually it's your husband, Mr. Dey, who is the most avid reader of your columns as opposed to your children. You're never sure what percentage of your work they're actually reading.
They haven't read most of it. Even the columns, I have to beg of them that please, I send it dutifully. I mean, I write 3 columns a week and I send it to all of them and say, I need some reactions. Later, Mom.
Smiley face.
No, later. Or, good one, Mom. Yeah, my friends liked it. The books, some of them are read, some of them dismissed. But it's not that they don't take me seriously as a writer. But I think, and I'm very grateful for that, they prefer me as a mother. So the writer is something, there's writing is something I do on the side. But with Mr. Dey, he takes enormous pride and enormous interest. He's deeply invested in what I write and every aspect of my life. So his engagement with my work is completely different, very critical as well. And I get hell every Sunday morning if there's a column that he doesn't particularly like.
Or one that will bring hordes of politicians outside your door in a dharna.
Or worse, goons, stone-carrying goons who come to blacken my face, cops. Well, I've lived through all of that. That can't be much fun for him, but I don't think he'd want me to be any other kind of person. And that's wonderful, because had that support not been there, and though, of course, I have to tell you this, it'll amuse, especially Bachi. Before I've had my morning cup of tea, Mr. Dey has read at least 8 newspapers. So the quizzing begins before I've properly woken up. And he'll say, do you know how many airstrikes there were last night? Do you know what's happening in Ukraine? Like this moment. Do you know about something else? Do you know the world markets, happening? It's like, the nation wants to know in a different form. And it's a quiz I invariably fail. So he tells me very mockingly, very dismissively, and you call yourself a journalist, you call yourself an opinion maker. You know what happened while you were asleep last night? So, I don't know what he expects, but yes, it does keep me on my toes, because I would be very bored with a very passive and a very accepting and a very non-critical partner who just keep telling me, oh my God, darling, you're the best. It'll be so boring. It would never have worked as a marriage. So I'm glad he gives me hell every morning.
What's the most romantic thing he's done for you?
Oh, that's too personal. I can't share. Oh, no. No.
Well, at least,
no.
you can share.
No. No, come on.
Well, there is one story in there which you have to share because it's in the book. It involves a carpet.
You share it.
There's a carpet in the house which has been woven at Mr. Dey's orders, which has him and Shobhaa woven into the carpet. So it is hanging in the house. So if you ever go to Shobhaa Dey's house, make sure you look at this carpet.
But thank God it's a small representation in a discreet corner of that wonderful Kashmiri carpet, or I would have died of embarrassment. It's like, I can't bear it. I don't even want it to hang there. But he's very proud of it, and he says it's so unique. It's one of a kind. I said, yes, mainly because no one else will want that carpet hanging in their home. So obviously it's unique. He is very romantic, he's very passionate, he's very impossible. But the romance is of a level that is, I think all Bengalis present today will understand. It's of such a heightened kind of a romantic imagination. I cannot keep up. I keep saying I'm a prosaic, non-romantic Maharashtrian woman. I don't have these flights of romantic fantasy. So, okay, I'll share one very sweet thing. So all along, from the time we've met, I have said, on my bucket list is to go to Argentina, learn how to dance the tango, and preferably dance it with a ponytailed stranger in a public square. It's a fantasy. It's a kind of running fantasy in my life. So when this book was written, and it was my 75th birthday, he showed me tickets to Argentina. He's booked for us to go right after his birthday. So I said, well, I don't know if a ponytail stranger will be interested in dancing with a 75-year-old woman in a public square, but the gesture touched my heart deeply because, it's a long journey, and that he's doing it only because he says it's that one fantasy of yours I'd like to fulfill. So there we go.
Can we have a round of applause? And I'm sure there'll be a ponytail stranger. I'm sure there'll be a line of ponytail strangers who want.
Promise?
Promise.
Okay,
We will
done.
be. This is definitely.
Antonio Banderas might be around somewhere.
Now you're aiming a
Javier
little
Bardem.
higher, but you wanted strangers. Now you want Antonio Banderas.
No, I also want Javier Bardem.
Oh,
Two of
Javier
them.
Bardem, two.
Yeah, two of them.
Gael Garcia Bernal.
Why not?
Why not? Why not?
Let's throw them all in.
That. But when you're talking about writing, one of the things that struck me was, well, two things. One is, given the, you're writing so many columns, do you ever worry about running out of ideas?
Never, because the day I start worrying about that or running into what's called a writer's block, I'll know that it's time to walk away into the sunset. Because for all those of us who are in this field, ideas and our imagination and our curiosity and our sense of observation, it keeps us going. So as long as there are people around me, as long as there are conversations that trigger something within me, a memory or something, as long as we have our roster of the most incredible politicians on earth, you can never run out of a subject. They're there. They provide you with material every minute. Each time they open their mouth, you have a column. So I don't think I'm likely to run out of ideas.
So did COVID, at least were you afraid when the COVID happened and the lockdown happened that so many of us were cut off from a lot of social contact in a personal way that we were used to, that it would, among other things, like your fount for ideas might also dry up?
Oh, I went through a very hard time. I'm sure all of us did, those 2 years. But I think every breath we took was a second chance at life. We didn't know whether we'd wake up with COVID, whether our loved ones would be affected. So fear and panic were the predominant features during those 2 years. I didn't think so much about external stimuli. Instead, I decided to make a complete fool of myself every day on posts on Instagram. And I would get dressed every single afternoon, get Anandita to shoot short videos. So there were 50 back-to-back videos where I was talking about the news that was coming in, but trying to keep everything upbeat and lighthearted and silly. And of course, make an idiot of myself. I would pick a song every day, a Hindi classic, Devanand, Kishore Kumar. I don't know where those songs came from, which I can't sing those songs.
You're getting in there. How many people would like to hear her sing?
Don't be ridiculous.
Look, all the hands going up.
You naughty, wicked man. No, it was done for those videos. And now I charge. But anyway, I couldn't sing for nuts. But people and well-meaning girlfriends rang up and said, Shobhaa, come on. You can't sing. You don't know the lyrics. You're humming so badly. You're so out of tune. Why are you doing this? And I said, you know what? I'm enjoying myself. It's cathartic. It relaxes me. And I said to girlfriend, I said, besides Miss Know-It-All, who knows everything about movies and music, there are people who are sending in requests on Instagram saying, sing this next. We're looking forward to hearing you sing that tomorrow. I'll send you the words if you don't know them. It connected in ways that are crazy and mad, but the world was going through crazy and mad times. So these songs made people just feel happy.
Yeah.
And that I could be confident enough or stupid enough to be out there, not being able to sing, but making people smile was enough, good enough.
That actually reminded me of a song which I thought of. Let me see if I can find it. And not a Bollywood song, not a Bollywood classic, but it's an English song. But let's see. But while I
Mud ke na dekh, mud ke. I like that. If anyone knows it from my vintage. It was sung very seductively by, I think it was, do you remember Mud Ke Na Dekh, Mud Ke, who sang it? It was a vamp of a certain era.
Yeah.
Lovely song.
So, but this is a different one. It's an English song.
Was it Nadira? I think so too. Yeah.
Can you hear this?
Like Marlena Dietrich, and you dance like Zizi Jamais.
Oh.
Your clothes are all made by Balmain, and there's diamonds and pearls in your hair. Yes, there are. You live in a fancy apartment
We should all be
off the
waltzing.
boulevard Saint-Michel.
This is the song
We
that
keep
I
me
thought of while
rolling
reading this
stone.
book. So
At the neck.
the big refrain in this song is, where do you go to, my lovely, when you're alone in your bed? Yeah. And what struck me about this book is how much time you talk about being alone. There is a lot of vulnerability in the book. Many places you talk about crying uncontrollably. Does crying come, you say crying comes easily to me now. Why do you think that is?
Because I'm no longer afraid of my own tears. I'm no longer ashamed of them. I no longer feel I have to suppress them. I no longer feel it'll make me look weak to cry. And if something moves me, I'm entitled to my tears. In the past, I would have run away from showing that side of my personality in public. And there was the whole construct the image. And it's, like Mr. Day often says to me now, it's time to shed, not add. So shed what is not important. Shed, and don't add anything that is irrelevant to your life. And that includes people.
So did you grow up in a family that was not very forthcoming about showing emotions, shedding tears?
Yeah. All Maharashtrian families are necessarily quite stoic, and self-punishment is a virtue. They do not let go. They can be very joyless. There can be everything is a guilty pleasure. Everything is a guilty pleasure. So yes, while it was a very secure upbringing and a very, very loving in a Maharashtrian way upbringing, it was never demonstrative. And after a certain age, I guess Maharashtrian fathers never hug their daughters. It's considered somehow improper. So, and my mother was not a huggy, kissy kind of mom. And I discovered that I wasn't a huggy, kissy mom myself because of that. And my children often tell me, and they're all now, one son will be 50 this year, and the others are in their 40s and their 30s. And they come to me and say, Mom, just give me a hug. But it doesn't come naturally to me. It doesn't.
Is it easier to hug strangers?
Yes, much. Much, because I'm not invested. It's a social moment. If I feel it, it happens. But it happens not in a synthetic way. I don't hug every stranger I meet. If there's a connect, yes, I do. But my children feel very jealous. And they say, please don't hug. And don't hug that person in particular.
And now in this book, when you talk about going away to Pune on your own and staying there, so what have you been finding out about yourself? Because you say you've never really lived alone in your life.
Yes.
What has it been like?
I think it's also finding my Maharashtrian roots in a more meaningful way, and discovering that I didn't collapse emotionally or physically being on my own. First time ever in my life, and that took in my 74th year, was a huge self-discovery and a wonderful one. Because at some stage in our lives, we may have to be that person without someone to always be there for you. And do you have it in you? It was like testing myself. And it did give me a lot of comfort to know that if that ever happens, I can do it.
What prompted you to do it, though?
What prompted me was also a series of circumstances where I felt I was unable to deal with issues that made me uncomfortable. I was unable to deal with conflict. I was unable to deal with anger. I was unable to process emotions which were making me get out of my comfort zone and leading me to feel constantly dealing with negativity and anger. And anger is not something that is natural to me. I'm not an angry woman. I'm not an angry person. So it was a new person, and I wasn't happy with this new person who was angry all the time. I needed to get away to find out what was causing that anger, and to be able to deal with it and come out of it. And Narayan helped me so much. Oh, Narayan is the hero of my book, Narayan and Pushpa.
You'll have to read the book to find out who Narayan and Pushpa are. But what was the hardest thing in being by yourself?
It was initially, I would say, it was
the dishwasher.
The dishwasher and all those other challenges, because I've never done any of it. Learning to structure my day in a way that was very domesticated, which I've never been used to. But it really gave me a lot of, I enjoyed it. Eventually, I enjoyed it. I know I can do it, and I can do it very well today. I can live as a single person and not crave for help or attention or any. I could be by myself and be perfectly happy.
Do you think it changed your writing?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Not essentially. I don't believe that. But I wouldn't have written those the last few chapters had I not experienced it. And those took a lot out of me to write. The sort of summing up towards the end when I am living by myself in Pune. And the book starts with my saying, initially that was going to be the title of the book, which was called Searching for Anuradha, which was my given Maharashtrian name according to my nakshatra, which is Anuradha, and which got changed. And I've always felt more Anuradha than the more pedestrian and banal Shobhaa. So Searching for Anuradha finally ends with in Pune, where I feel I have found Anuradha. And I do feel that. And I like the person I found, which was thank God for that. I mean, imagine finding Anuradha and then discovering, oh God, who's this horror? Yeah.
But in terms of writing, and how long did it take for, well, you say you've been at it for 50 years, but how long did it take for people around you to take it seriously as a profession, career, not as Shobha's hobby?
It never mattered to me. It was not my concern. They could think what they want. I've always felt that way. To be dissed is something I feel is part of being in public life, to the extent that you are in public life. To have your colleagues belittle you is part of the world we live in. It has never preoccupied me or crippled me or made me self-conscious. I just continued to do what I enjoyed doing. I just continued to write whatever the hell I wanted to write. And I just feel extremely, in a way, grateful that, 3 generations of readers still find me relevant enough to read me. And they're not judging me the way my contemporaries did, who had, of course, dismissed me with my very first book. It doesn't matter. I mean, to continue to say, even now at 75, it should be very flattering, which was said with my first book, that her looks sell her books. Well, good for me. I hope my looks continue to sell more books. And I hope some of them can sell their books because of their looks. But that's fine. It's quite normal for people to diss someone like myself, because a woman's story necessarily has to come with a lot of, if you've not suffered, then you have no right to succeed. You've got to have a hard luck story somewhere in your life to make it all justify whatever you may achieve. Undermining a woman for whatever she may be achieving outside of her perceived, the grid that she's been put into. I mean, I was modeling 60 years ago. To date, it's always model turned writer. I mean, 60 years later, okay, thank you very much. But it's a kind of thing that used to bug me initially. But today I can really laugh it off, because no matter what I may be writing about, no matter what I may be talking about at a public, any kind of platform, at the end of it all, there will be at least 3 people who will ask me, Madam, how do you preserve yourself? And I always say, in vinegar. I soak myself every night in a tub full of vinegar, and that's how I preserve myself.
We're going to open this up for questions, but while you guys think of your questions, one, I wanted to, since this is a book about food, yes. I wanted to play a quick little game with you, which is, it's not a very difficult game. Like, if I'll name a celebrity, and you just tell me what food comes to mind when you think of that person.
Kejo, you got a new show coming up.
If he takes this idea, then you'll know where it came from. So, because we are in Bengal, of course, Mamata Banerjee, what food do you think of?
Potol.
Potol. Okay. We're not going to ask her to explain. No. Or if you want, you can explain.
Potol filled with minced keema, which she makes out of a lot of people. So I guess that's what comes to my mind instantly when I think of her.
Our Prime Minister?
Should. Something so should that no one will want to eat it.
Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, who has given you a blurb for the book.
He's vegetarian.
So it'll have to be something.
Well, it doesn't have to be. His personality can be non-vegetarian, right? So I would say a complex cutlet, because he is a very complex individual. And one bite of a cutlet can never give you enough insights into... Every bite can be a different flavor in your mouth. So he's led an incredible life, and a cutlet is tough, and it looks very easy to make, but is not, to make it well. And yeah, to me, he's that complex mutton cutlet.
And since we are here at AKLF, Maina Bhagat.
Oh, she's blushing.
That was my whole goal for
oh,
this.
She's blushing. I would say Nolen Gurer Roshogulla. As delicious and as irresistible and as specific to Kolkata during this season, that's you, Maina. And I wish we could enjoy that round the year, like you.
Let's open this up for questions. So put up your hand and... What? Yes. Really, no. Can you get the mic?
Okay, two. Since it's about books, what would be your favorite place to eat out at in Kolkata? One or maybe two. And secondly, we talked about Mr. Day and the supportive, his support to you. My question is, how important do you think that support is? Ultimately, your success has to be fashioned by yourself, your path. But how important was that success? Because I know he's incredibly proud. The first person who sends that, look at the review, look at the blurb, Amitav Ghosh, is from him. So how important was that?
I wouldn't be here, I wouldn't have written the books I have after meeting him, had I not been able to take that support entirely and totally for granted, which is not a very fair thing to say to your partner. But had I felt that in any way it would, and it must have, because I had the worst reviews on earth, as you know. I was condemned and damned in every conceivable publication in India and abroad. And my writing was dismissed as being whatever it was. And as a businessman, particularly the political columns, must have, in many ways, been difficult for him to deal with. That he did so without ever making me feel that I was doing something wrong or terrible, or that he was judging me, really gave me that strength to, without ever having to articulate it or tell him, oh, thank you for your support. I've never ever said those words. Maybe I should. Maybe it's time to say them, because I haven't ever said them. And
food.
I wouldn't have been able to do it had he been, or even my father for that matter, such a conservative, Saraswat Brahmin, bureaucratic man, conservative but yet very progressive. And with my very first book, the kind of reviews I got were lethal, and I was called, all kinds of names. And he said to me, and he also gave me courage along with Dilip. Both of them, they were very good friends. And he said, be proud of your work. This is your book. And we are all standing with you and by you. And never ever let anyone else tell you or make you feel diminished. Yeah. It's your work, be proud of it. If both these men had not said it, my children were too young then, I probably wouldn't have carried on. Yeah.
And favorite eateries?
Barbecue. I mean, it wins hands down. Barbecue anytime. Mocambo and barbecue are my two absolute favorites.
All walk in this.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is the third time I'm attending your program, and I have a lot of photographs with you also. Now, there is a very small, complex question. My wife, earlier, I am from the food family only, Tiwari sweets and all that are related to us. I used to enjoy rasgulla, laddu, samosas, everything, but, these days, all the ladies have become very complex. They are not allowing you to eat everything. So, the food part, I think kebab and all that, if my wife here, she's not give me kebabs. She'll say, no, you put on another 4 kgs and all that. So, ma'am, how do you feel that, with this, all this complexity, this nutritionist coming in, you better do this, you eat chia seeds, that seeds, this seeds, Kerala water, and then again, now you talk about kebab, I don't know what will happen to me. And incidentally, my wife is in Bangalore, so she's not aware, but I'll send her the photograph with you. Ma'am, how do you feel that in future people will deal with all this?
Well, I think to start with, most men have thrown away the weighing scales and are ignoring their wives' advice. But in any case, I think there's much more awareness about foods which are good for you and foods which can actually damage your various body, your liver, all of that. So with awareness, there's also a sense of responsibility. You can eat and enjoy everything that you have always enjoyed, but you just balance it out and eat smaller portions. I would say that. And sugar has been labeled the biggest enemy, public enemy #1 of...
Ghee, ma'am.
No, ghee, there's a whole different theory about ghee. But sugar is a bigger enemy. So I guess for those with a sweet tooth, fortunately I don't have one, that's something we need to really look at.
But ma'am, I must tell you...
I want to get a couple more questions
in. Last word to her.
Quickly.
Ma'am, you're looking much, much more gorgeous than last time I saw you.
I must be eating right, doing something right, and just feeling happy. Thank you for the compliment. Thanks a lot.
Is there another question? I thought I saw a hand. But, since they asked you about your favorite eatery in Kolkata, and since we're among friends, what is the most overrated Bengali food for you?
I'll tell you the one I like, which I think deserves to be, it should be up there in world cuisine, is macher jhol. It's a very deceptively simple thing, but absolutely phenomenal. Overrated, I would think is, now they're going to hate me for this, the Ilish, which everyone goes orgasmic over. When it's going upstream and when it's going downstream and when it's with roe and without roe. And, it's almost worshipped. Topshe, which is also almost worshipped. When Topshe arrives in the house, it's like everything comes to a standstill because Topshe is in the house. So the obsession with all things March, I don't quite get, because Mr. Day could probably have March at breakfast, lunch and tea and still ask for more. He could probably even dip it in his tea and have it. But the cuisine is something so incredibly complex that, and the cuisine of Kerala are the two cuisines in India which haven't received their due and not enough recognition in just the way, the kind of almost religious commitment to cooking, daily meals. Nothing can be cut wrong, nothing can be fried wrong, the presentation, everything about food is taken to a new level in Bengali homes, and that kind of respect I rarely see.
Do you think there's a connection there politically? You talked about Bengal and Kerala and their food. Do you think what we eat connects anything?
100%. Most definitely. You're on the right path politically and in terms of cuisine as well. So,
are we out of time, or is there any last burning question?
She's going to throw us out now.
We have 20 seconds. We have 20 seconds left. If you can ask a very quick question. A 10-second question.
It's a small question. So, hello, ma'am. This is Neha this side. So, what would be your one message to this generation? Because it's a complicated
Very
generation.
small
Oh
question.
gosh, it's actually a book, and I really don't have. There are two questions I always avoid. What is your message for the young of India? And the second one is, what is your legacy? I'm working on both, so I'll have to skip that. I have no message. Live your life, enjoy your life, do your thing, and just be happy.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Shobhaa. And thank you, AKLF,
Thank
for
you.
this.
It was